everyone, I am Grandmaster Rafael Leitão from Brazil, and in this video I'm going to show you an interesting game I played against Brazilian Grandmaster Felipe Eldebs, and I think the game was quite interesting from both a theoretical and creative point of view, and I hope you all like this video. Felipe is strong Grandmaster, he is around 2500, and I was playing white in this game. So we played the Gruenfeld Defense, and I played this system with Bishop G5, which is not the main line, but it's quite an interesting sideline. It's possible to fight for an advantage here. And there are many interesting games have been played in this line. Felipe played what, at the time at least, was the main line, knight e4, trying to exploit white's bishop on g5. Some recent try has been made by some bold players sacrificing the d5 pawn and completely ignoring white's so-called threat of taking on f6. And so some players have been trying to play bishop g7, which is quite an interesting creative move. And well, the only way to try to refute this setup is of course to accept the gift. And now white probably should take on d5 with a pawn, because if knight takes d5, then after bishop g7, white's knight is somehow on the way, so black can try to push it with c6 and then maybe immediately maybe c5. And while black is speculating with his strong g7 bishop, and also with the fact that white's king side is still completely undeveloped, so it's possible to achieve some interesting compensation here. So white's main move is to take on d5 with a pawn. And now the most fresh approach in this position is another very creative move, c5, trying to break white's center. And this is quite an interesting position for those of you who are interested in theory. You can check this position because this is probably one of the most important positions in this system, at least nowadays. So maybe white should play knight f3 in this position, and it's a complicated fight, but so far black's been doing quite well in the games played in this position. Well, as I said, Felipe played knight e4, which is, at least it was, the main move. And after bishop h4, he played knight takes c4 and took on knight takes c3 and took on c4. And black accepts the c4 pawn, and this is one of the most critical lines. It's typical for black to accept this pawn and then try to develop the king side very fast with bishop g7 and castling and c5 with this typical Grunfeld counterattack. If necessary, black can defend the c4 pawn with bishop e6 and sometimes even b5 or knight e7, b6. So these are black's main ideas in this setup. I played e3, trying to regain this pawn, and Felipe played bishop e6, which is the best move in this position. Otherwise, white has some free development after taking the pawn on c4. And in this position, white players has tried many different setups. Some of them played, I don't know, queen b1. Queen b1 has been tried. Rook b1 has been tried. And when I started this setup a few years ago, I decided that I would play sacrificing the c4 pawn without trying to regain it in the very near future. So I just wanted to play knight f3, bishop e2, and castling, and develop my pieces. And that's what I did in this game. Knight f3, bishop g7, and bishop e2. Well, White's ideas are quite clear. I want to castle and then maybe play e4 and try to make use of my better central formation and try to achieve some good compensation. Or sometimes I'm going to play to regain this c4 pawn also. So in this position, I think the best move for black, or either now or in the next move, it involves the plan with knight d7, with the idea of putting this knight on b6 and defending the c4 pawn. And it's very difficult for white to break this defensive setup, because the knight on b6 is quite solid, and white can try to play with e4 and so on, but it's not very clear whether I can gain an advantage. An example of this defensive setup is, let's say, I castle and knight b6, and let's suppose I try to attack this knight on b6 with the a4, with the idea, of course, to play a5. Black must make a prophylactic move now, a5, and this is a typical position of this system. Black secures the c4 pawn, and white will try to advance on the center. Let's continue a little bit in this position. Let's suppose I play queen c2, development, and now rook b1, making use of this semi-open file, b file, and I have some ideas with knight d2, maybe queen a2, trying to regain this pawn, or e4. And now I like to point out a very interesting move for black, typical of this position, bishop d7, with the idea queen e8 and attacking the a4 pawn. And this leads to a very complex fight where I think black can hope to achieve equal chances. So of course white players can try to achieve something here. The position is complex with chance for both sides, I believe. So this was an interesting setup, but my opponent played castling. He could play knight d7 again here, probably transposing, but he played classical move, Grunfeld move, c5, and trying to break my center. And here I have some interesting possibilities. I played a cunning move, rook b1, although I could also try some more concrete approach. That would be knight g5, attacking the e6 bishop, and after bishop d5, e4. And now again I would like to point out to you an interesting thematic move in this position. I have seen this same pattern in many other types of structure, and of course black could play maybe bishop c6 here, although the position is dangerous. After bishop takes c4, it's not so easy to play. But black's best move here is h6, typical counter-attacking move, attacking the g5 knight, and we have very complex fight here also, as it's usual in this system. For instance, he takes d4 now, and bishop takes c4, d takes c3, and suppose rook e1, bishop f6, I take. And this is very interesting, complex, strategical type of position. White is surely going to regain the c3 pawn, and I have a passed d5 pawn and also bishop against knight. But my bishop is not so good in this position, and black may try to block on the dark squares, maybe with queen d6, knight d7, and it's difficult to say if white can get any kind of an advantage here. Well, these are all nice variations, but I decided to play a cunning move, rook b1. First of all, threatening the b7 pawn. It's not so easy to defend this pawn, because if he plays b6 is not a very desirable move, because it creates some weaknesses. So it's not very easy to suggest something good for black here. apart from what my opponent did, which is c takes d4. It's probably the best move. And now I played knight takes d4. This is better than taking with the pawn, with the c pawn, because in this position, this is a dynamic position. I should be wanting to create life for my pieces instead of just achieving a nice structure. So for this reason, knight takes d4 is a much better move, because I centralize my knight and I start to win some tempo by attacking the bishop on e6. I gain tempo to develop my pieces and, well, continue with the initiative. So this is a much better move than c takes d4. Now my opponent is nearly forced to play bishop d5, because I was attacking both bishop and pawn on b7, so he has to defend both. He has to play bishop d5. And I played queen c2, which is interesting. I prepare to develop my piece, and I have two ideas now. I can play the position with e4, and I can play also rook to d1, making use of this potential x-ray with the king on d8, sorry, and creating some pressure. So after queen c2, black must take some defensive action against this. A move that I think it's quite interesting. It has been played by Kamsky. It's queen d7. Looks like a strange move, but it has some concrete ideas. Suppose I play rook d1, which is the normal move, and I would like you guys to take your time to consider, maybe in this position, how do you think black should try to defend? And I must say that defense is what I consider in chess the most difficult subject to master, because it's easy to play. No, not easy, but it's easier to play when you are with the initiative, at least for me, attacking and finding moves for yourself. But it's very difficult when you are on a restrained situation where you must find some defensive resources in order to keep your position alive. So I would like to you guys to pay attention to this position and try to understand what is black's best move here. And this move was played by Gata Kamsky. Bishop takes d4. It's a very concrete move with the idea of solving this x-ray problem, and this is quite an interesting move. If white takes with the rook on d4, then black's ready to play knight c6, winning some tempo and developing his piece. So white should play c takes d4, and now queen e6, and black may hope to survive in this position. The game Gelfand against Kamsky, Gelfand played bishop f3 here, and one more complex position. It finally ended in a draw after a few adventures, and well, I guess this position is balanced. So another idea of queen d7 is that in case of e4, similar to what I played in the game, bishop c6, bishop takes c4. Now there is a difference. With the queen on d7, black can play bishop takes d4 and take on d4, winning a pawn. Of course, the position is still complicated, as white may try to find some compensation here, based mostly because with a dark squared bishop, and black's king's position is not very safe. The position is complicated, but this is probably the main idea of queen d7. Well, Felipe played another natural move, queen c7, but now I have time to play e4 and take on c4 with the bishop, because now my d4 knight, as we saw, is not attacked. And now this is already a difficult position for black to play, because it's difficult to find developing move here. Knight d7 is not possible. because the e7 pawn is hanging. So black must find another way to play here. An interesting move could be queen f4, trying to attack both my bishop on h4 and my pawn on e4. But I don't think black can achieve equality here. I think the strongest continuation is bishop takes e7, and when he takes on e4, I play queen b3, and I have a lot of initiative here, and his pieces are not so well placed. So as we can see, the difference on development is very big here. Maybe this is the subject of this game, development at all costs. That's why black is going to lose this game. So it's not very easy to give some advice here. My opponent played interesting move, bishop e5, threatening the h2 pawn. I must lose a little time to defend this pawn. I played simple move, h3. And black's problems now persist because it's still not easy to develop the d7 knight. So he should find a way to defend the e7 pawn so that he can develop that knight. But it's not so easy. If he plays, for instance, bishop d6, which is possible to defend the pawn, but then with his bishop on d6, far away from the king, I'm not going to delve into variations here, but I'm just going to point out that now white's attack might be quite strong. Maybe even a move like bishop g5, followed by bishop h6, and this bishop is a little far away from the action there, but nothing immediate is going to happen. Also possible is e6, although it's a very brave move, as black is provoking white into sacrifices of all sorts on e6. Although, again, nothing very clear is apparent, at least for now. But my opponent here played an unfortunate move for him, of course. Rook e8 with the same idea of defending the e7 pawn. And why do you think this move is bad? What happens? What point is weakened on black's position at this moment? This is already the decisive mistake in this game. It's probably black's only big mistake, but it's already a decisive mistake. Black weakened the important f7 point, and now I can already take decisive action with a very strong move, f4, attacking the bishop, and now black cannot even consider taking this f4 pawn, because after bishop takes f4, this open file is opened. And I would like also to make you pay attention to the fact that when a grandmaster plays the move f4, we don't even have to analyze moves like bishop takes f4. Already by concept, by strategical feeling, we are sure that this move is just going to lose, and it's not even necessary to lose energy, time, anything analyzing this move. So black played bishop f6, and now came already the decisive combination, typical combination, bishop takes f7, and black is now lost already. This is a very nice move, king takes, queen b3, and now if king g7 or king f8, of course, this is just losing, because knight e6 check comes and just deciding the game, so black is forced to play e6. And now I continue to attack with f5. And my plan here is just to open the position completely and to break black's king's defense. So I have all my pieces playing, and look at the rook on a8 and the knight on b8. This is the strategical reason that why this sacrifice works. All white's pieces are working on this attack, and black's pieces are still far away from the defense, so it's a difference in quality of both pieces. Well, my opponent tried to break the position, to close the position somehow with a g5 move. And after f takes e6, king g6, we come to another interesting moment. And also interesting to see how the machine finishes this game. It's, I guarantee, very, very difficult for a human player to find the way the machine plays here. It's very brutal. The machine plays rook takes f6 in this position, and this is a move that actually I enjoy it. It's a pity that I couldn't find this move in this game. And after king takes, look how brutal is this sequence. I analyzed this possibility, but I just couldn't see White's next move, which is quite nice. Bishop takes g5, totally breaking Black's position apart, even though I have very few pieces left. All of them are taking part on this attack, and after king takes g5, the final touch is queen d1, and now look at the sad position of this king on g5. White's pieces are coming with rook f5, queen g4, and this is completely lost. This would be a very nice way to finish this game, but I didn't find this move. I played a solid human move, also good enough to win, which is queen c2, putting some x-ray on the king, and now I prepare e5 check. So Black's next move is very natural. It's queen e5. And now it looks like Black is close to defending. It's not very clear how to break this position, because, well, the queen is solid now, it seems so, and e5, he's threatening the e4 pawn, and what can I do now? Of course, when I played queen c2, I had to see the way to break his position in advance, and this is rook takes f6. Very nice move. He has to take with the king, of course. Queen takes f6 just loses to e5. So he has to take with the king, and now queen f2 check. And now he played king g7. I would like to show some interesting variation here with king e7. Sorry for this on the screen, but now I have nice way to win this position. After queen f7, king d8, trying to run away with the king. Knight takes e6, and b takes e6, and now try to see checkmate in 2 moves for white in this position. And this is on the theme of, I'm not sure of the word in English. I think the theme is, tactical motive is decoy. Forgive me if I'm wrong. And rook takes b8, defending the piece that was holding the d7 square. Rook take b8, queen d7, with a nice checkmate. Well, that's why Felipe played here king g7. And now I played a very nice move in this position. I would also invite you, viewers, to find the final touch in this game. I will give you a hint. It involves one piece which seems to be sleeping in this position, but actually she has 2 eyes open, just waiting a chance to arrive in this game, and the chance has arrived. The move is rook takes b7 check. I'm very proud of this move because it's a move that is very, very easy to miss. This kind of long move with a piece that looks like an outsider, and we are just want to analyze queen f7 or knight f5, bishop g3, and the key to the position, or at least the easiest way to win, involves a long move with a piece that seemed awake, actually sleepy. Rook takes b7, and now Black's totally lost. The point is, after bishop takes b7, then queen f7 check, king h8. Now the difference is that the rook on e8 is hanging because the bishop has left c6, and after queen takes e8, this is just checkmate, easy. For instance, knight f5, and checkmate on next move probably. So that's why this rook takes b7 is so strong. Felipe played king h8, and now, well, you don't have to search for sacrifices at all the moments in the game. At least my approach is, whenever I can play simple, I play simple. And maybe I have still some nice tactical way of winning here, but I decided to play a simple move. My position is good enough already. I played bishop g3, and now he cannot play anything because if he moves the queen for e5, my queen is coming to f6, so he has nothing to do here apart from resigning. Well, this was a very special moment, very special game for me. I liked a lot, especially this bishop takes f7 and rook takes b7 moves, and I hope that you guys also liked this game. And my name is Rafael Leitão, and I hope you enjoyed this video.